You're looking for a good border wall, but you don't want to pay a lot of money. Am I right? You've heard prices of 18 to 25 billion. Not here at Paul's Discount Walls. You say, Paul, can you help me get into a good border wall for 12 to 15 billion? And I say, did you say 12 to 15 billion? No, we can do better than that. 9 billion? Nope, less than that. Even 7 billion? We're going lower. Hey, this place is a mess. How'd that happen? I think we can build a good border wall for under $5 billion. Under $5 billion. That one I'm going to keep. So we have a 2,000 mile border with Mexico, the proud country of Mexico. Right here. It's about 1,200 miles along Texas, about 800 miles along California, Arizona, New Mexico, right? About 2,000 miles altogether, right? You're saying, but Paul, we're trillions of dollars in debt. What's a few $1 trillion? No problemo. Is this entertaining so far? I hope so. Okay, let's see. I need to show you my $5 billion wall. It's actually less than $5 billion, I think. And here's what we want to deliver. I think what we want is a 5-part wall. Now this is the part along the Rio Grande River. Obviously, if this was along the 1,200 miles of the Rio Grande River, if we were looking at the part that's 1,200, here's 800, there'd be no river there. But I think we need like a wildlife refuge first, or a nature preserve, something like that. Here's the river, here's Mexico, United States. Okay, then our wall system starts. This is all either treated as somehow legally as a transit zone, or that you have not legally entered the United States of America, and this is not for people anyway. You have a vehicle barrier, 16-foot access road. Okay, I think you can see that. The short wall, a 20-foot wall, a 40-foot no man's land, a 30-foot wall, that's the main wall, 34-foot wide main access road, okay, and then a north vehicle barrier. It's about 100 feet altogether, this here. And I'll show you the individual ones. So each one of these is a 12-foot wide section. Okay, we cast them separately. There's a 6-inch gap between them. 6 inches is about 15 centimeters, okay, here to here. 6 inches, big enough for wildlife to get through. Small wildlife to get through. And also flash flood waters, things like that. We could cast them in place. They'd be about 8,000 pounds each, the short wall, 10 feet tall. So the concrete part, is about 12 feet wide, 10 feet tall. I'm estimating about 6 inches thick with rebar, lots of rebar, but about 12 inches wide at the bottom. And then you'd cast it in place. Please excuse me, this is not so good, but I'll interject also the computer parts. You cast it in place, tip it up, take the molds off, okay? You don't need to see the details, do you? Okay? Then you have your wall section. So for the short wall, this would be like 10 feet tall and 12 feet wide. This is obviously not to scale. And then on top, you'd put your concertina wire, okay? To the untrained eye, this may look like a slinky and paint stir sticks, but no, that's not the situation at all. And you build the tall wall, the main wall. Similarly, that would be 15 feet of concrete, and then, so here's our short wall, 15 feet of concrete, and then 15 feet of concertina wire. Also, you'd have plates. You see in the plates, those gaps, those bars, that would be for a defensive position behind it. Someone comes in, we want them to go to the U.S. Consulate, the U.S. Embassy, right? Come here legally. Come here legally. If you haven't committed felonies and you want to come and work for a few years, great. Come here. Okay? And then work and pay taxes. I'm a guy who lived in Japan for 5 years. Well, I'm an American. You can probably tell that. Anyway, my accent and everything. But I lived in Tokyo for 5 years. I had to get a work visa before I went there. Each year I had to apply, had to get fingerprinted. Had to reapply, each year. Had to pay taxes to the Japanese government. Why don't the visitors who come to the U.S. to want to work here and live here for a while, why don't we have them do the same thing? Okay? That's not too much to ask. Now, U.S.-Mexico border, I'm going to do this quickly. Go to the web page. Oh, here's the web page. Right here, you can see that. Okay, www.maga, Make America Great Again 2020, wall.com. Okay, right? You can see that, right? Go there, you'll see all these details, and then you can argue with me on the numbers. These are rough estimates. I know they're not right. I'm not in construction, but I think this wall would work, and it's a lot cheaper. Okay, U.S.-Mexico border is about 2,000 miles long. There are 5,280 feet per mile. You take the 2,000 miles times 5,280, that equals 10,560,000 feet. Does that make sense? Okay, that's the distance of our border with Mexico. Okay, 10,560,000 feet approximately. Okay? Now, each of these sections is about 12 feet wide, right? So, with a gap between it of 6 inches, like I said, for the little bunny rabbits and lizards and stuff like that to get through. Then you've got 12 feet 6 inches, which is 12.5 feet. You divide, here's our border again, 10 million, okay? Now we take that, so we take this 10,560,000 divided by 12.5 equals 844,800 of these sections wide. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we're going to calculate our cost. And it actually should be lower. I picked numbers that are on the high end. I picked concrete at about $100 per cubic yard, which is kind of the commercial rate. We're going to be doing concrete in such volume, I'll bet it'll be a lot cheaper, okay? So our short wall for the concrete part is 12 by 10 by 6 inches thick. It's actually a little bit thicker than that. Look at the calculations on the webpage. The main wall is 12 by 15 feet by 6, and then another 15 feet of wire on top, right? Okay? Oh, and it goes down about 14 feet or 20 feet, however much we want. I've got this calculated at 3.5 cubic yards for the short wall. For the main wall, which also goes way down, I've got that calculated at about 8 cubic yards of concrete, okay? Vehicle barriers for each, and they're about a half a cubic yard each, 5 feet by 2.5 feet by 12 inches deep. So, concrete needed, oh, I got ahead of myself. There's our numbers there, and the vehicle barriers. Okay, you can see that. Rebar, we need rebar. We need strong walls. I picked number 4. My earlier estimates from last month, when I kind of kept this secret for a few months, now that it's out and I've got friends and people starting to comment, I've got to make it cheaper. I've got to make it so we can bend the rebar. Number 7, you can't really bend. It's really hard. 7/8 of an inch thick, okay? Number 4 is about a ½ inch thick, and that's still workable, but you can also use hand tools to bend number 4, okay? For the short wall, where have I got? 250 feet. Main wall, 600 feet, and again, these are overestimates. There's probably less than that. Vehicle barriers, about 150 feet for them. So, we're ready to start putting up costs. For one 12-foot section, now this is just the materials. Concrete, 13.5 cubic yards, $1,350. Remember, I calculated at $100 per cubic yard, right? Rebar at 70 cents a foot. I'll bet we can get it cheaper. What do you think? I'll bet we can get it 50 cents, 40 cents maybe. We're going to be buying so much rebar, I'll bet we can get it a lot cheaper. But I calculated at 70 cents, so 1,000 feet is $700. Gravel, we need lots of gravel. Gravel's cheap, about $750. Fencing pipes for walls, again, look at the webpage for the details, about $900, $895, okay? So, for one 12-foot wall section, using these costs, we also need to add for lights, right, and miscellaneous materials. We're going to need clamps, we're going to need other things. Here's our numbers. Okay, you can add them up, 300. It comes out to a total of $39.95 every 12 feet 6 inches for material cost. Does that make sense? So for each 12, your vehicle barriers, your short wall, long wall, the gravel, all the gravel is needed, and all of the wire above, the concertina wire, I put that in there, and fencing, the fencing stuff, again, look at the webpage. But if our costs are cheaper, let's say, for example, this is an estimate. This word CB, people ask what that means. That means could be. My previous videos, could be. So if the concrete, instead of $1,300, what if it's about $1,000? The rebar, what if it's cheaper? What if that's about $500? The gravel, we're going to get in a lot of gravel. It doesn't have to be perfect gravel. It just needs to be gravel. Okay, and it's $500. Okay, so then we wipe out this price. We come up with a much lower estimate. This is all, I believe, all doable. Okay, that puts us at $3,095 per section, right? This is getting affordable. Actually, that comes out to a lot cheaper. I'll tell you in just a moment here. Again, I'm trying to rush because my earlier videos, I have a terrible problem. I ramble. I'm not good at public speaking. I have lots of ideas. But hey, use these ideas. Let's use them, okay, if it's a good idea. Or let's use part of these ideas, okay, if this is a good idea. Okay, so here's our distance here, 844,000 sections. So let's multiply, okay? We multiply, I'm reading everything backwards, this is kind of hard. Let's see, so you can see it. Okay, that times $4,000, $39.95 equals $3.37 billion, right? Okay, you got it there. If we had that lower estimate, remember I said the 3095 it could be, that would be, let's see, 844,800 sections. Hey, I got a typo on my thing here. That comes out to about a 2.6 billion or 2.7 billion, okay? So it's a lot cheaper, 3.37, again, a heck of a lot cheaper than 18 to 25 billion, isn't it? Right? I told you this is about 100 feet back. Now, part of my estimates for land does not include this wildlife refuge. That comes out of a different budget, whether it's Bureau of Land Management, Fish and Wildlife, I don't know. But it's this part. This is the part that's the wall. This is the part that Congress won't give us the money for. What's their problem? What's the deal here? Who are they representing? I found a USDA government site that listed average farmland by state. Okay? Now this is a really rough estimate, but I'm going to use it. I need something to just get an estimate. Okay? California, the average price from farmland, this is in 2015, about $7,700. Arizona, $3,780. New Mexico, $510. Texas, $1,940. Okay. Now, I'm just trying to get a price, right? Because we need a certain amount of land, and where I estimated, this is about 100 feet, I estimated 150 feet because I want my estimate to be too high and then to go down, okay? Oh, one other thing I need to show you on this is every 3 miles we'd have a wildlife refuge, or a wildlife oasis, okay? So that may look like a wine bottle opener to the untrained eye. No. This is one of those rural windmill things, right, for livestock and stuff like that. Well, why don't we put one every 3 miles, okay, along the wall. An average person can walk at 3 miles an hour. So once per hour, along the whole length of the wall, we would have emergency drinking water for people, okay? So that's there. 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. we could pump water into, not only have a bunch of trees and bushes and things like that, hummingbird friendly, butterfly friendly, stuff like that. But we could pump water into a trough here in No Man's Land. So there's water for whatever wildlife is in here. We could also pump some here to the south wall and also have buttons, 2 buttons, one for water. You need water, please have some water, but then go back and go to our consulate or our embassy and apply and come in legally, okay? We want you to come here, or excuse me, we do want, if you want to work and help your family, then there are people, I've been to Mexico, I don't know how many times, half a dozen times. I mean, there are people who come and work in the U.S. for 4 or 5 years, go back and they can buy a house. Wow, that's pretty good. Okay, so that's great if you want to do that. We don't want the criminals. Okay, so that's the purpose of this wall. We're not, as a conservative, I'm not xenophobic. I'm going to take my jacket off, by the way. Okay, I'm getting kind of warm here, and excuse me, I apologize. Okay, you saw me looking decent and respectable. I mean, you saw me as being decent and respectable. So now let's see. My flaps up. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, so anyway, we're trying to estimate prices, and I'm trying to hurry through this because I get thinking. Okay, so now, with these prices in mind, I am estimating that the land would cost us about $5,000 an acre. Now, is that fair? That's a fair price, isn't it? Right? Okay, where'd I go? Here we go. Okay, right? I mean, that's a high estimate, isn't it? Okay, we need 100 feet back. Okay, 1 acre is defined as 43,560 square feet. It's also defined as 66 feet by 660 feet. Okay? We need about 150 feet back, the way I've estimated it, right? At 150 feet deep, then we'd need frontage to equal 1 acre is about 290.4 feet. Okay? You can double check these yourselves if you're not sure about my numbers. So how many acres do we need? Remember, we got 10,560,000 feet along the border, and we need it 150 feet deep for 2,000 miles. Anyway, it all estimates out here. Here's 36,300. Oh, here's the number of acres. 36,366 acres times $5,000, right? equals 181,830,000, or about 182 million, right? So that means if our estimate was 3.37 billion, we need about 2.2 billion more, about almost 200 million more, right? That's right? 3.57. So that's all our material costs for land and for that. Now I know there's other costs, excuse me, but let's just try and get an estimate of where we're at up till now. And I need to get this finished here. Oh, I do want to show that. Okay, just a moment. Okay, let's see. So here's our total costs then. Remember our construction materials, 3.37. Border land at 150 feet deep, it's 182 million. Wildlife oases every 3 miles. I think this is good for the environment. Only 5.74. The command centers at 2,000 miles, about once every 30 miles, an average of once every 30 miles. That equals 67 command centers. We may need more, may need less. I estimated about $10 million each. Earlier I estimated like $5 million. No, these guys can spend a lot of money. You're going to get special equipment, you need lots of computers, you need vehicles, you've got to have backup power, backup water, you've got to have a lot of things for the command centers. So at $10 million each, is that fair? Then that would be 670 million, okay? Is that fair? Okay. Oh, and then the first year, I think we need to put ads on Spanish language TV in Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, the other countries, to let them know, hey, we're not against you. We do want you to come and work in the U.S. if that's what you want to do. We want to do it legally, though. We don't want you to be at the mercy of an unscrupulous employer. We don't want you to be stuck, like let's say you get injured and you can't go to the hospital or you're afraid to go get medical care. No, let's do this legally. I propose we do this in 3 winters. We have like 50, we could start at 50 places. Why start in one place? This is low tech. These things are about 8,000 pounds each for the short wall, about 12,000 pounds, 6 tons for the main wall sections tipping up. Okay, it might be that we could survey this land along the Rio Grande River, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, get it surveyed quickly, begin the paperwork process, and get the molds made for our wall sections and for our vehicle barriers, right? It's now or never, folks. I'm going to quote John Kennedy. If not us, who? If not now, when? Right? Excuse me. I need to finish this up. As an idea, I think we should use volunteers. I think we could do volunteers to build this wall. That's going to lower our cost by billions of dollars. That's why I said the $5 billion is for under $5 billion. That's a lot of money. 5 million people times $200 each equals $1 billion. Okay, that's a lot of money. 200 bucks. But in a way, is that a lot of money? How much do you pay for tires when you go buy tires? How much is your car payment? How much is your house payment? Come on, you can get $200, can't you? In my 50-minute video, what if we reactivate the Civilian Conservation Corps? As an idea, FDR in 1933 started the Civilian Conservation Corps. For about the next 8 or 9 years, they built all kinds of projects in the U.S., particularly out in the country and stuff. Well, why don't we reactivate the Civilian Conservation Corps as a way to do this one-time national defense project? Within companies, if I'm talking about volunteers, so you need to have a background check for each one. I think we need to have people provide their own insurance. What if, for companies, they have to allow people to have jury duty and allow for military service like National Guard or Army Reserve, Coast Guard Reserve, something like that. So what if we also then, for 3 winters, have a designation where they could optionally do, instead of jury duty, they're away from work for 2 weeks or 4 weeks, something like that, jury duty or military service. What if they could do building the wall? Now, it's just an idea. Maybe during World War II, we had a huge financial effort, war bonds. Every city, people would go in different communities and getting people, hey, buy war bonds. We need to support the war effort. Okay, so I thought about the war bonds and stuff like that, and I said, why don't we invent wall bonds? Why not? You like this? I made this myself. I don't know if you can tell or not. We have a man in the White House who's keeping his promises, and he says we're not going to have to pay for the wall, right? So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, we have good reason to give him the benefit of the doubt, don't we? But we need some money up front to buy lots of concrete, concertina wire, and all the other things we need. Command centers are better than the 8 examples that are out there now, and we can build it. And that's my idea. For liberals who are watching this, I know you're going to hate this, and you've got all kinds of nutty stuff about how, oh, we should be friendly to everyone. No, don't be friendly to rapists and murderers. You probably would let 90 or 95% of the people who are in the neighborhood come into your house. I would too. But you know what? There's a few people who are dangerous out there, and that's who we need to stop. That's why you, Mr. or Ms. Liberal, have locks on your doors for your car and for your house, right? So don't be a hypocrite. Don't be a liberal hypocrite. Ooh, okay, this is just common sense. Thank you. God bless you.